Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Gopinath Radha Gopinath Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe Jaya Gauranitai Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharya Ashtottara Shata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Samstapakacharya Savior of the whole world Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayed Nashtaprayesha Bhadresho Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 4, the appearance of Sri Narada, text number 11. Namanti yat pada niketam atmanaha. Namanti yat pada niketam atmanaha. Namanti yat pada niketam atmanaha. Shivaya haniya dhanani shatravaha. Shivaya haniya dhanani shatravaha. Shivaya haniya dhanani shatravaha. Katham saha viraha shriyam anga dustyajam. Katham savira shriyam anga dustyajam. Katham savira shriyam anga dustyajam. Yuva aishata utsrashtum aho saha asubhihi. Yuvaishatotsrashtum aho saha asubhihi. Yuvaishatotsrashtum aho saha subhihi. Namanti yat pada niketam atmanaha. Shivaya haniya dhanani shatravaha. Katham savira shriyam anga dustyajam. Yuvaishatotsrashtum aho saha subhihi.
Namanti yat pada niketam atmanaha.
Namanti yat pada niketam atmanaha. Shivaya haniya dhanani shatravaha. Katham savira shriyam anga dustyajam. Yuvaishato srashtum aho saha subhihi. Namanti yat pada niketam atmanaha. Shivaya haniya dhanani shatravaha. Katham savira shriyam anga dustyajam. Yuvaishato srashtum aho saha subhihi. Namanti yat pada niketam atmanaha. Shivaya haniya dhanani shatravaha. Katham savira shriyam anga dustyajam. Yuvaishato srashtum aho saha subhihi. Namanti, bow down, yat pada, whose feet, niketam, under, atmanaha, own, shivaya, welfare, haniya, used to bring about, dhanani, wealth, shatravaha, enemies, katham, for what reason, saha, he, Viraha, the chivalrous, Shriyam, opulences, Anga, O Suta Goswami, Dustyajam, insuperable, Yuva, in full youth, Aishata, desired, Utsrashtum, to give up, Aho, exclamation, Saha, with, Asubhihi, life. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. He was such a great emperor, Parikshit Maharaj, being referred to. He was such a great emperor that all his enemies would come and bow down at his feet and surrender all their wealth for their own benefit. He was full of youth and strength, and he possessed insuperable kingly opulences. Why did he want to give up everything, including his life? Please repeat this translation after me. He was such a great emperor that all his enemies would come and bow down at his feet and surrender all their wealth for their own benefit. He was full of youth and strength, and he possessed insuperable kingly opulences. Why did he want to give up everything, including his life? Purport by Srila Prabhupada. There was nothing undesirable in his life. He was quite a young man and could enjoy life with power and opulence. So there was no question of retiring from active life. There was no difficulty in collecting the state taxes because he was so powerful and chivalrous that even his enemies would come to him and bow down at his feet and surrender all wealth for their own benefit. Maharaj Parikshit was a pious king. He conquered his enemies, and therefore the kingdom was full of prosperity. There was enough milk, grains, and metals, and all the rivers and mountains were full of potency. So, materially, everything was satisfactory. Therefore, there was no question of untimely giving up his kingdom and life. The sages were eager to hear about all this. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Jnanatirmirandasya Jnananjalishalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesh Shunyavad Paschatya Deshadharme Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Yat Kripatamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So the sages are eager to ask relevant questions. They are very carefully hearing. So one place Prabhupada says, don't hear like hogs and dogs. So I was wondering, why is Prabhupada saying don't hear like hogs and dogs? That is, not to condemn the hogs and dogs, but to inform us that as human beings, we are endowed with developed intelligence and a very powerful, subtle body that the animals and the lower creatures don't have. So they lead their life mechanically, being totally conducted by the gunas. You have heard this verse in the Bhagavad Gita. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashaha. That all material activities are physically conducted by material nature. I'm using this word physically, that Prabhupada doesn't use. Just to explain that in the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, this verse I quoted is from 3rd chapter. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashaha. And 5th chapter, Krishna describes. So in this 3rd chapter, this particular verse, it is said that though the activities, material activities are carried out by material nature through the gunas, but still ahankara vimudhatma kartaham iti manyate. Ahankara, due to this false ego, a human being engaged in some material activities, he or she thinks, I am the doer of some particular activity, which is actually carried out by the gunas, by the material nature. So how to understand this? If I say, I am lifting my hand, what is wrong in that? It's a fact, no? I wanted to lift my hand, I'm lifting my hand. If I don't want to lift my hand, I can't lift my hand. I won't lift my hand. But the truth is that yes, it is my desire to lift my hand, but actually I'm incapable of lifting my hand. Why? Because this hand, as well as this entire material body, not only the gross body, but even the subtle body, is made up of what? Material elements. So the first mistake I am making is thinking that I am this body. The first mistake, I am not this body. Neither I am the subtle body. I am spirit soul, completely apart from this gross and subtle body. So I am not this body. Then the second mistake is, even if somebody may understand I am not this body is mine. This is mine. This is my body. It's reasonable to say this is my body. But scriptures say, no, it is not your body. Now, how is this making sense? It's not my body. It is as sensible to say when you are in a rented apartment, you cannot say this is my apartment in the sense of ownership. You can say it is my apartment in the sense that you are living there. That limited sense, yes. But in the sense of ownership, you cannot say it's my apartment because you are renting that apartment belonging to somebody else. Similarly, in the sense that I'm residing in this apartment, in this body, I can say this is my body, yes. But am I the owner of this body? No. Who is the owner of this body? Is it material nature the owner of this body? Madhura Murali, what do you think? No, material nature is also not the owner of this body. Material nature, on behalf of Krishna, who is the real owner, Krishna is the owner of this body. Material nature is carrying out, according to Krishna's will, the different actions, and the working of this body is being done by material nature through the gunas. So, all the activities in this body, by the body, within the body, is carried out by the gunas. And these gunas are invisible. The material scientists have no idea, the faintest idea, what are these gunas. Because these gunas are very difficult to understand. Once I was invited to give a discourse in one Theosophical Society in Chennai. So I obviously said, yes, I can give a discourse, but what topic do you want me to speak on? So the president of that Theosophical Society, he said, please enlighten us on the 14th chapter of the Gita. So I said, okay, I can speak on the 14th chapter, but may I ask you, how did you select this 14th chapter for me to speak on? So he said, actually, we invite different speakers regularly. Every 15 days or so they meet, and the members of the Theosophical Society, and they invite different speakers. And he says that of all the chapters of the Gita, he found that 14th chapter to be very difficult to understand. So he said, if you can enlighten us on the 14th chapter, we really, not only me, but all my other colleagues who are members of that society, we've been hearing Bhagavad Gita for quite some time, but we have not understood this 14th chapter. So then I said, oh, you want me to speak on the gunas, the three gunas, the three modes of material nature? I said, yes. So then I said, yes, I admit, among all the chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, the most difficult chapter to understand is these three gunas, 14th chapter. Why? Why do I say that? Because in the 7th chapter, Krishna says, Bhumirapo nalo vayu khammano buddhirevacha ahankara iti yamme bhinna prakriti rashtadha. So, bhinna prakriti, this material nature, is my separated energy, and it consists of 8 elements. So what does material nature consist of? 8 elements: earth, water, fire, air, sky, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Now, this is not difficult to understand, that in the material world there are these 8 elements, and all material objects are combinations of 8 elements? No, they are combinations of 5 elements. There are no material objects which are made up of mind, intelligence, and ego. Only the Pancha Bhuta includes our gross body. Our gross body and all other non-living objects, material objects, technically we call it objects of the senses, object of the senses. Indriya Gochara, 13th chapter, Indriya Gochara. So all the material objects are made up of the various combinations of the five elements, or less than 5 elements, whatever combination. Whereas our subtle body, not only human beings, even the animals, the insects, the worms, the germs, all have their subtle body also. Not visible, not tangible. At least for the lower species, is never understood. Human beings can understand to some extent. I have a subtle body because I know I have a mind, I have intelligence, I have ego. So we have a subtle body. We can, to some extent at least, we can understand as human beings. We have a subtle body. But only the subtle body of each living being is made up of these three elements. Mind, intelligence, ego. It's not very prominently seen to be active in the case of lower species of life. But in the human being, it is not only active, it is very, very, very active. The subtle body. In fact, the gross body is conducted through the subtle body. We utilize the gross body through the subtle body. So therefore, why I am saying this is, if you understand this, then you will understand the 14th chapter where Krishna says, material nature consists of three gunas. This is a secret of the Bhagavad Gita, teaching of Bhagavad Gita. And those who are little conversant with Vedic philosophy, they all know this material world is made up of 5 elements. Most people will know this. But very few know that material nature also consists of 3 gunas. 14th chapter, 5th verse. Sattvam rajas tama iti guna prakriti sambhavaha nibaddanti mahabaho dehe dehinam avyayam. This word deha, referring to the body, and dehi, the living being who is the occupant of the body, who is residing in the body. These 2 words are very important words. Remember 2.13, the opening, one of the opening verses of the Gita, Dehi nosmin yatha dehe. That verse also. Krishna begins to instruct Arjuna, you are not the body, you are spirit soul, you are not the material body. So he says, Dehi, Deha. He makes the difference between the living being and the body. Living spirit, soul, and the body. Similarly, in this verse, Dehi, Dehinam, Avyayam. The living being who is a resident of this material body, both the gross and the subtle body, actually, this body is made up of the gross body is made up of 5 elements and the subtle body made up of 3 elements. It's already mentioned in the 7th chapter as the constituents of this material nature. Material nature consists of these 8 elements, 5 and 3. But in the 14th chapter, Krishna introduces the composition of this material nature as not only consisting of the gross and subtle elements, but also made up of the 3 gunas. Tattvam rajastama iti gunaha prakriti sambhava. Prabhupada's translation is very important because this word sambhavaha can be translated in so many ways. There are different senses in which it can be used. So Prabhupada's translation 14.5. See why Prabhupada has given word for meaning. Because the sense in which a word is used is very precisely explained by Prabhupada in the word for meaning. Here, gunaha, the qualities, prakriti of material nature, which is the three qualities of material nature are sattva guna, rajoguna, tamoguna, sambhavaha, produced of. So, in the translation, Prabhupada uses a little different word. Material nature consists of three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. When the living entity comes in contact with nature, he becomes conditioned by these modes. The usage of Prabhupada's words are very, very, very important to help us understand the difference between this body is made up of 5 or 3 elements, and the body is conditioned by the 3 gunas. Body or the living being, the resident of the body, conditioned by the 3 gunas. Nibadnanti mahabaho. Nibadnanti does condition, does bind, does conduct this body according to the 3 gunas. So, we are controlled. As living beings, we are controlled. And as the Supreme Lord, Krishna is the controller. So, a very interesting difference between the living entity and Krishna, Prabhupada points out that in this material world, the living entities as well as the super soul, the Supreme Lord, both are controllers. Both are controllers. I have limited control, so whatever limited little control I have, I can be also called a controller. So that way every living being has some controlling power. So every living being is a controller. But only Krishna is that type of controller who is not also controlled. Krishna is the only controller who is not controlled. Everyone else, all living beings in the entire material creation, why material creation? Even the spiritual world also. All living beings universally, material world, spiritual world, liberated, conditioned, everyone is controller and controlled. Very interesting, isn't that? So this difference is very important to understand. Mayavadis don't understand this difference. They study the whole of the scriptures and they got big commentaries written on all the scriptures technically. Vedanta Sutra, there are so many commentaries by Mayavadis also. But they can't recognize this difference between God, Krishna, and the living beings. They can't make out this difference. They say both are same, both are equal in all respects. But when you ask them, are you absolute controller? They cannot answer that because they don't understand what absolute controller means in the first place. Absolute controller means Krishna is a controller. We are also controllers. But the difference is Krishna has no controller above him. All of us, we have somebody or something to control. But we are also controlled by somebody else or someone else or something else. So there is a hierarchy of control in the material world. And those who study the scriptures, they understand in the hierarchy among the living beings, Brahma is the topmost among the jivas in controlling. So everyone is subordinate to Brahma. All living beings other than Brahma are subordinate to Brahma. But even Brahma is not absolute controller. He has also got somebody above him controlling him. Who's that? Who's above Brahma in the hierarchy? Shiva. Shiva is above Brahma. But Shiva is also not absolute controller. Above Shiva is Vishnu. So Vishnu is absolute controller. Nobody above Vishnu. So, what about Durga? Is Durga controlled by Shiva? No. Durga is not controlled by Shiva. Durga is controlled by Krishna or Vishnu, the Supreme Lord. Even though Durga conducts herself according to the directions of the three directors, Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. So the gunas are working, Sattva-guna works according to the direction of Vishnu. Tamoguna works according to the direction of Shiva. Rajoguna works according to the direction of Brahma. So these three are called directors of the three gunas. But the directors are giving directions according to the will of Krishna. This is nicely explained by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. In one song is written, Tumi Sarveshwareshwara Brajendra Kumar, Tomar Ichhai Srije, something like that. This entire material world is conducted according to your will. According to your will, Brahma creates. Creates means he gives the direction for creation to take place by employing Rajoguna. According to your will, Vishnu directs. According to your will, Vishnu directs and the demigods do the actual maintenance. Vishnu is aloof. But Vishnu directs. How does he direct? He is seated in everybody's heart. Even Brahma directs according to the will of Krishna, but that will of Krishna is understood by Brahma through the super soul. Vishnu has a super soul in his heart. Paramatma, Chirodakshai Vishnu. Shiva also directs according to the will of Krishna, but the will of Krishna, even for Shiva, is understood for him to act according to the will of Krishna through the super soul in his heart. But Durga, she is directly the energy of Krishna. Directly the energy of Krishna. So Krishna Simply, he wills and his energies actually carry out everything according to his will. He desires, that's all. Or he wills. It's like in Bible it is said, God said, let there be creation, and there was creation. So they always ask, God said let there be creation, but how did creation actually take place? They have no answer in the Bible. So the answer is given in our scriptures. Krishna wills, and then the actual action is carried out by Durga Devi. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashaha. The modes are acting, but the modes are acting, the actual person who is working is Durga Devi. The personality who is working actually is Durga Devi. But even Durga Devi, she utilizes the gunas to bring about the changes that are constantly taking place in material nature. The modes are acting on the elements. This is the mystery behind the working of material nature, which the scientists can never understand unless they understand who is God or Krishna or who are the Devatas. Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Durga. You have to understand 4 personalities who are real persons, who are actually making it happen. The changes that are happening in material nature. These 4 personalities actually make it happen. But all the 4 are actually acting according to the will of Krishna. All the 4. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, this complex philosophy which is there in the Vedas, in one simple song he is so nicely explaining. Somebody has opened that song, just 4 lines, you can understand. What I exactly said is exactly there in the song, directly there. Read out. Sumi Sarveshwareshwara Brajendra Kumar. Next line. Tomara Ichhaya Vishwe Srijana Samhar. This Srijana, this creation, and Samhar is destruction, or the entire universe, Vishwa, is created and destroyed according to your will. And he further explains, next line. Tava ichha mato Brahma korena srijana. According to your will, Brahma creates. Okay, then? So Brahma, I told, he creates in the sense that he is a director of passion. And mode of passion is utilized for creation. And how is it utilized? Durga carries out the work of creation. Srishti, Sthiti, Pralaya, Sadhana, Shakti, Reka, Chayeva, Yasya. There also the same thing is told. Okay, next. Tavaiche, Vishnu, Korena, Palana. So Vishnu maintains according to your will by directing all the Devatas, who are the directors of all the various facets of this material universe. Wind God, Sun God, Moon God, Fire God, Wind God, all Devatas subordinate to Vishnu. So they maintain the entire material creation. Okay. Then next. Tava ichha mato Shiva korena samhar. Shiva actually destroys according to your will, means he is the director directing the tamoguna. Because the actual work is done by Durga Devi through the gunas. Okay? So this is how actually Then the next line describes Durga's actual work. Next line. See, Tava Icha Maya Srije Karagar. This material world is like a prison house for the living entities. And according to your will, she is constructing and maintaining and destroying this entire prison house, this material world. See, the work, the action is carried out by Durga Devi. And Durga is acting through the gunas. So you don't see, if you actually carefully read the scriptures, Durga Devi, she has got so many forms. But in her form as Vaishnavi, the consort of Lord Shiva, what is she engaged in as Vaishnavi? She is simply hearing Shiva glorify the Supreme Lord. That's her only work as Vaishnavi. Her expansions are there, Kali, Chandi, Vaishno Devi, Mahalakshmi. So many expansions are there. They are actually carrying out this creation, maintenance and destruction. So sometimes you see Durga is in a certain form, she is destroying killing some demon. Right? Sometimes she satisfies some asura by blessing him with some power or accepting some offering of flesh or wine. So, very mystical personality, Durga Devi. Very difficult to understand who is Durga. And she is not a jiva. That is the biggest mystery. She is not a living entity. Neither she is in the category of Vishnu, nor in the category of Shiva, nor in the category of Brahma. Because above her, the directors are giving her directions for creation, maintenance and destruction to be actually carried out. Just like an engineer, he will not actually do construction, site engineer, but he will direct the workers who are actually keeping the bricks, building it, doing this, doing that, everything. Correct? So like that, even this creation of this material world or maintenance or destruction, Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva are not actually doing the work. Actual work is carried out by Durga. That also through the gunas. You can say like the construction supervisor. A crude examples, please don't take this very seriously, these examples. I'm just trying to give some idea to you. How actually the gunas are working for the sake of all the changes that are happening. Guna prakriti sambhavaha. Coming back to my point I wanted to make. Nibadnanti mahabaho, but gunas are also conditioning us. What is this conditioning? The influence of the gunas because of which I think I am this body, even though I am not this body. I think I am lifting this hand, well actually the lifting is being done by the gunas, by Durga Devi. That is why when somebody gets a paralytic stroke, even though he wants to lift his hand, he cannot lift his hand. Have you ever wondered why? Even now doctors don't know. Why when there is a so-called paralytic stroke, something happens in the brain. They don't know what happens. They say stroke ho gaya, stroke ho gaya. And then, kya ho gaya? Paralysis. Some part of the body or left side or entire body or only the eyelid or only the mouth or only this portion, some small portion. No more I cannot lift my hand if I have paralytic stroke. So this paralytic stroke means I don't control my body. So to understand further, I don't control my body, the 5th chapter Krishna explains, there are 3 doers of every material activity. 3rd chapter he explained 2 doers. The living entity who wrongly thinks he is a doer due to ahankara. And actually, material activities are carried out by material nature, Durga Devi. So 2 doers are the living, if I lift my hand, then I am one doer because I think I am lifting my hand due to ahankara. And Durga Devi actually is arranging to lift this hand through the gunas. But in the 5th chapter, Krishna explains the 3rd doer. Who is the 3rd doer? Apart from living entity and material nature or living entity and Durga. It is Paramatma in the heart. What is his role? 5th chapter Krishna explains. My role in lifting my hand is my desire to lift my hand. What is my role? Desiring to lift my hand. Because it begins, that's where it begins. The action of lifting my hand, first of all, I had to desire to lift my hand. Correct? Then the second doer is Paramatma. Paramatma has to sanction. Paramatma has to sanction. So Paramatma as the sanctioner is the second doer. So if he sanctions, I can lift my hand. If he doesn't sanction, I can't lift my hand. So if he sanctions, what happens? If he does not sanction, material nature will not work. Material nature will not work. The gunas will not work to lift this hand. I cannot lift my hand. He sanctions, then what happens? Material nature works. That's the will of Krishna as Paramatma. So according to that will, the hand will move up. How? The gunas work. So that's how in the brain there are some neurons which are activated, and that leads to some signals being sent to the muscles, through the nervous system. All this they have analyzed. Medical science, they have analyzed all this. And then some actuation happens at this joint. And then there is movement. All this analysis is perfect actually. Not wrong. Not speculation. It's a fact. Something is happening. But the subtle working of the body, that the scientists do not yet know. Soon they will know that also. Sooner or later they know this. They further study this body more and more. So these 3 doers, the living entity, Paramatma, and material nature or Durga Devi, 3 doers. All material activities are carried out by 3 doers in their specific role. Whereas spiritual activity, how does spiritual action take place? We chant every day Hare Krishna. How does it take place? As far as the physical activity of vibrating the tongue and producing the sound is the same system. When I say Hare Krishna or I say some ordinary thing, table, what is this? This table. Same. But when it is chanting Hare Krishna, there is something more happening than just I desiring to say something and I actually am able to say sound, produce that sound through my voice box. I want to speak and I am able to speak. Some speech comes out as sound. More than that, when I chant Hare Krishna, there is actually a spiritual action performed, activity performed by the soul, by me, as spirit soul. I have chanted the Lord's holy name. That means Krishna takes cognizance of that. Anything else I speak, material things. This is stable. I want to go somewhere. I call somebody. Amazon I call. Say, send me. Formerly it was calling. Now we can do it on the computer. So all that speaking, ordinary speaking, is simply some physical thing happening. Some actions in this body. Sound is produced. So the consequence of that is merely some hearer may hear and say, oh, if I say, I want something, can you please get me? If you're a conscious hearer, then you will act, you may do some action. You may get me something, okay. But otherwise, at the level of material nature, it is simply the laws of material nature, the gunas are working and producing the changes, that's all. That's all that is happening. But when there is a spiritual activity, additionally, apart from whatever laws of material nature account to that, whatever may happen will happen. But additionally, Krishna is taking cognizance when I chant, when I worship, when I sing, when I hear Krishna Katha. You're all hearing Bhagavatam, something more is happening than simply some sound vibration falling on your ears and then you becoming conscious of the sound as meaningful sound, understanding every word. That's happening in the brain, something is happening. But more than that, you are actually hearing Krishna Katha. Krishna is reciprocating. Krishna cleanses your heart. When you hear spiritual sound, Krishna cleanses your heart. When you worship Krishna, Krishna cleanses your heart. And that cleansing will go on till your heart is completely clean. And after your heart is fully clean, you continue the devotional service. Then what happens? Then Krishna awakens your dormant bhakti. Your love for Krishna is awakened. And then your activities are no longer merely some material phenomena, but your activities are completely spiritual activity whereby you glorify Krishna, you worship Krishna with love for Krishna, to please Krishna. And Krishna accepts that service and Krishna is very, very happy, very pleased for you. And Krishna reciprocates. He gives you back his love for your service, you render. So that we have to wait till cleansing is complete. So now what is happening? Whatever we are doing, cleansing is happening. But the same chanting, if you do offenselessly, the cleansing happens very rapidly. The cleansing happens to a bigger extent, very big extent. Millions of lifetimes of karma can be wiped out if you chant offenselessly. It happened in Ajamila. Because he chanted offenselessly, all the sinful reactions of millions of lifetimes were wiped out. That's what the Vishnu Dutas told, no? Yamadutas. Yamaruta's charge was that he never did any prayaschitta for the sins he's committed. So he is eligible to be taken to Yamaraj for punishment. So Vishnu said, no, he's already atoned for all his sins. What? What atonement has he done? He chanted the name of Narayana. He said, no, he didn't chant. He was calling his son. He was not at all having any consciousness of doing some japa or singing the glories of the Lord. He was not engaging in any spiritual activity. He was only looting, plundering, playing with his son out of material attachment for him. He has not done any bhakti. Then the Vishnudutas explain, if somebody utters the name of the Supreme Lord, intentionally, unintentionally, jokingly, or cursing somebody or whatever, the name, the sound of the holy name works. At least the minimum benefit he can get is his sinful reactions are destroyed. So offensive chanting, little cleansing happens. Offenseless chanting, huge volumes of sin get cleansed away. And continuous offenseless chanting will completely cleanse your heart and you become fixed up in pure devotional service. And then that devotional service, after that, complete cleansing will awaken your bhakti. And once your bhakti is awakened, you are active spiritually, you are situated on the spiritual platform, you are in the spiritual world, and you are engaged in pure devotional service in your specific relationship with Krishna of love. And stop here. Kantarat Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Krishna.